And welcome back. We're picking where we left off last time in the Long Dark on Interloper. In this stream, I believe we're going to be outward bound to the far territories. I wonder what the weather is like outside. Memory serves it was fairly good, so we may be able to make the trip over to camp office tonight. Yeah, this is decent weather. We'll try to make the trip over. So the plan is, I think, to head out to the far territories, and we'll start working again on tale number 3, which is the last of the tales. In the last stream, we only recorded 3 parts, so we'll see how I'm feeling. I'm going to try to record at least 4. And if things go well, we'll record 5. So it might be a slightly longer stream than normal. So during this first one, there's one thing I want to do before we actually go ahead and leave safety. Well, there's a couple things I want to do before we leave the safety of Mystery Lake here. I got one more repair I want to do on the rabbit hide gloves. And then I want to transport more meat to the trapper's cabin. So if we come in hungry and cold to the trappers, we can just grab some food, nom it down, and warm up in the cabin. Whereas right now, well, in theory, right now we've got exactly the right amount of food to do that, which is maybe cutting it a little close. It's kind of the thought process from my perspective. That shouldn't be too hard to do. There is a somewhat fresh bear kill that I have nearby the trappers. So all I gotta do is basically go over there, cook some of the bear meat, drag that cooked bear meat over to trappers. So first stop here is we're going over to the camp office where our rabbit hide is. Don't necessarily need to do that crafting today. Well, during this part. But we want to pick up the hide and we want to pick up the guts to go with it. So it's 1 hide, 1 gut. We're high enough level in repair skill, we're likely to succeed with a single use. But then we need the sun. I suspect when we get there, because it's already dusk, that it probably won't have quite enough light to finish the job. So we'll have to wait until the following day. And our character probably wants a nap anyway. So we might actually wait until we get to trappers, and we'll do that as the way to warm up at trappers. So I got some decent plans for what we're doing, even though a lot of the plan is basically trying to minimize condition loss as we destination walk for most of it for today. I'm starting to wander through an area here that sometimes has some birch bark. So we're keeping the head on the swivel, see if we see some birch bark. Definitely not opposed to collecting more birch bark. Looks like the answer to is there some today is no. Which is fine. Again, this is the route. As you can see, there are various places along it where if you get unlucky, you can get a sprain. It's infrequent enough that it usually causes me to get a jump scare, and I sort of quit when it happens. But it's not uncommon taking this route. The advantage of taking this route is, as you can see, I'm not having to take really any precautions to avoid wolves. The wolves generally stay down in the railroad track down below, which is why I take this route. If I don't want to take the time to chase wolves off while going from the dam area to camp office, this works reasonably well. Which is very useful on Stalker difficulty. It's a little less so on Interloper, but I'm doing it on Interloper because it works on Interloper too. There's less wolves. Although, maybe I'm less correct about that these days. That was, I developed this process prior to the wildlife refresh, so they may have rebalanced the wolves, and it's not always wolves down there in Stalker. Not sure. I haven't done enough soccer since.
Damn. I'm freezing.
Well, this time we managed to get through with no sprains, which is good to see. It's good when it happens. Taking a little bit of damage, but we'll recover this all sleep in the night. I may even have a little bit of rabbit meat here to eat, to stock up on calories. Yeah, a little bit of rabbit meat. Again, I'm not worried about the fact that I'm taking damage right now from the cold, because we'll get most of it back sleeping. And yeah, I think it's probably too dark in here to do the rabbit hide repair. But we can definitely source the rabbit hide. Oh, 98%. It'll probably be done in the morning, so we'll have to pick it up in the morning. Another good reason to sleep in here. We can pick up the gut. The only need one gut per hide, so that should be enough gut. Turn the lantern off because we don't need it while sleeping. I'm just going to tell it 10 hours. I suspect we're not going to quite sleep that much, so we don't actually need that amount of water, but so I'm not going to bother to do the quick top up in the water. Okay, so we did end up with a aurora the previous night. May even still technically be going on.
I would do anything for a drink
Yeah,
right
it is
now.
still technically going on. Was that enough time for the rabbit hide? It was enough time for the rabbit hide. Okay. And slip outside, feed the character, which will make the character thirsty. That's fine. Yeah. And all the eating past being thirsty is not getting lost as dehydration. So that's actually an optimal way to consume the water. Just eat first, then drink. Like so. And then I did want to do one more repair. Yeah, this is maybe not optimal from a input standpoint, but we have 4 rabbit hides here, so this will be fine. This was also maybe not optimal from using a repair kit, but again, still fine. So we got perfect rabbit hide, basically perfect boots. Socks are basically fine. That's fine. That's fine. Not gonna bother. That's something I can repair on the go, so we can let it get a little lower before we repair it. Same there. Yep. Okay, so yeah, everything's about perfect and ready to go. We do have an aurora. It is early morning, which is maybe not the best for traveling. And I've definitely worked with worse. Actually, what is... I think they may have applied the modifier where you're allowed to use ruin stuff again. So pick the oil and the millflower up. If you're not allowed to use the millflower, then this is just worthless. I can abandon it somewhere the moment I figure out I can't use it. I got plenty of that down by the coastline. So, worst case scenario, it's not the end of the world if we don't have one here. Okay, so we waited until the aurora was done. It's going to be cold, but I think otherwise you'd be safe to take the trip over to the bear meat pile. So it's technically at this point dawn. So even though we've got the residual aurora kicking around, in theory there shouldn't be timber wolves out. Although there shouldn't be aurora wolves out. And I don't think there is any timber wolves in Mystery Lake. You know, for this early in the morning, I was about to say, for this early in the morning, this is reasonably warm. We're a little over 20 degrees, I think. It's not going down super fast, so for 3 echelon weather, this is critically bad. Grab some water here. We don't need the water here. Save the carrying capacity to move bear meat. I think the plan is I'll probably try to warm up on the bear meat as well by starting a fire. Yeah, so it's definitely not an aurora because we can see the deer spawned in. They despawn when the aurora's up, so we got the aurora residuals, but because it is dawn, the aurora is technically no longer active.
Cold is making my head feel thick.
And I'm taking a slightly different to where I'm planning on being. So I think I'm going the right way. Might be going the wrong way, in which case I'll end up with like trappers or something.
So cold. I just want to lay down for a bit.
Instead of arriving at the bear meat pile. I'm going to warm up the bear meat pile by, well, I think I need to cook some of it, so we'll arrive at it, we'll set up a fire that'll be warm enough to get us warm, and then we'll spend like 2 hours cooking. And then over the trappers we'll head. Unless I've taken the completely wrong vector. I may have... yeah, I think I've taken the wrong vector. I think I want something that's over that ridge instead of... so trappers is just over that ridge. So I've taken the slightly wrong vector and got a little bit too fast towards trappers. We'll take a little bit of sprint here. Again, I'm not too worried about burning fatigue or calories right now. Because we're in a place with adequate food. Be a little bit more reticent to burn through calories once we're past the shed, the maintenance shed. So I think it's just behind that rock over there, that sort of boulder area, is where my pile is. In fact, I think we can see the campfire, the meat pile's next to you right there. Oh, there's a regular wolf.
Thank goodness. Made it through another night.
The dawn light might be bright enough to start a fire. We'll find out in a moment. So yeah, there's my uncooked pile. In theory, I have enough that I could probably just take some, but if I can avoid to, try avoiding. It is bright enough, so we're using the magnifying lens. This is basically a freak mission to start this fire. So it's just going to cost us fuel, and fuel's renewable / abundant.
Come on. Well, thank goodness for that.
Okay, maybe a little lower on coal than I would want to be, but that's fine. 57 minutes on the fire. I don't think I really got anything productive to do here sitting next to this fire. You know, I arguably should have put the pots down. Cooked it in the pots, but it'll be fine. At least for this round. A little less efficient than, say, plopping down a skillet and pot. So, recipe-wise, I do have some birch bark. We wanted to make up more birch bark tea. And it does appear that I am able to use cooking oil and the old flour. That's good to see. I know that we're talking about doing a patch to allow you to use the ruin stuff for a bit. I just wasn't 100% sure if it kicked in yet. Plump, plump. Another 2 kilograms. Oops, one of those was not bear meat, but was rather bear fat. There are uses for bear fat. I don't really have any good ones for them. It just makes cooking oil. Or if you're really desperate, it is calories, but you'll get food poisoning from it. Well, you'll get food poisoning from ruined ones, definitely. I think 100% you might not. Like if it's fresh off the carcass, it might not give you food poisoning. I think we get another 2 rounds on there. Well, it depends upon the weather. Oops. It's fine. So the wind has rolled in. It is now time to move. Because I'm not gonna try to fight this with coal. Okay. 1, 2, 3,
Too much
4.
stuff to carry.
We'll leave the partial behind. Take, actually, we'll take 6 of those. Those are a little overweight, but that'll be fine. And because I'm carrying cooked meat, so I'm going to be a little less attractive than it would be with raw. That was the whole point of cooking before moving it. But I could attract a little bit of wolf attention here on the way over to trappers. It's been a while, but I don't think I think we killed this bear more recently than some of the other bears, so I don't think the bear has respawned. It would be spawned, that's the spawn for that one over here. So, it may not be packed up yet. Pick up that stick. Thinner way, so we can pick it up. Not really have to take a detour. At some point, it might be something you can do after the tails while we're waiting for time to pass. And I'm basically going to probably do a survey for picking up all the saplings, but we're not in a rush to do that. Okay, if we make it up the other side of the other ridge here without running into a wolf, we should be free to make it all the way to the trappers without running into anything that can nibble on us. The same wind that took the fire away from us is also making us a bit chilly. I think we'll still make most of the way there without taking any damage. We'll double if we get a little bit lucky with some wind shelter. It's maybe a little too windy to want to take the trip straight over to
escape this cold.
the shed after we drop off this meat. So we'll probably take a moment to warm up by assembling our rabbit skin hide. Wait, no, we did that already. We did that during the roar. Yeah. Thinking about doing anything that I've already done. Can't do it twice. If no other reason than, well, once you've repaired something, like, consume the inputs. I don't have any inputs on me. There's more back at the, amp outfits, but at this point it's probably only got like 1% damage on it anyway. Do a little bit of sprinting here, just to avoid more damage. Again, I'm not concerned about, calorie consumption right now. If anything, I'm a little bit more concerned about the fatigue loss than the calories. Because we may want to try to take the trip over to the maintenance shed today. In which case our guy might get a little bit tired before he gets there. It is a decent walk from here. Here's where I'm putting the meat pile. Drop the meat inside to warm up. I am out of coal. So unless I got a pile of coal here, and I don't think I do, we'll, after warming up, probably take a dash over to the nearby cave and see if we can find some in there. What do I have stashed in here? Stuff to repair arrows if I need to do some arrow repairs. Okay. Good to remember. Yeah, snoozing for an hour isn't a bad choice. We should be fully warm after that. Okay, probably only healed like 2% condition, but we are not really in pursuit of condition recovery right now. Okay, this is a lot better traveling weather at this point. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed in is I'm out of coal. Hopefully a quick dive through the cave here may alleviate that fear. Would like to get a... well, I'd like to get 2 pieces of coal. The other alternative is to take the detour when I'm in Muskeg and go up to the northern transition cave. Well, it's not exactly the transition cave, it's Muskeg to Muskeg, but go up to the northern cave. There's usually coal. Well, I go there so infrequently, there's usually coal in there for me. This cave is more likely not to, because I go here fairly frequently, and it's not a very big cave. And it's not a coal mine. The coal mines tend to have so much coal that they're almost always got coal. The mean time to spawn on coal is pretty long, but it, like, checks, like, twice a day or something like that. So if you've got enough, raw RNG will tend to make a noticeable amount to respawn within a short period of time. But caves where they're a little bit thin to start with tend to have pretty long apparent respawn time for coal. I think some people say like the mean time for coal to respawn something like 20 days. But I think it check like twice a day, so it's probably like 5% per day that it comes back. It's a torch, not coal. There's a lump. About half of what I want. I'd like at least to have 2 pieces. 2 pieces of coal is a pretty good emergency stockpile of coal. It's very rare that you have weather conditions in-game that you cannot get warm with 2 pieces of coal, where you can even start a fire. So, if you can safely start a fire, you can usually be warm with just 2 pieces of coal. Well, 2 pieces of coal on a stick. 41 degrees is enough to get you warm in most situations. So for emergency purposes, that's real good. Oop. Disappearing coal. We'll see if I can remember. That might actually be an interesting short. Just edited out the disappearing coal there into its own short. that is definitely a new phenomenon. For quite a while, this cave had one piece of disappearing coal. Now it has two. So they're not there, they're not there, they're there! Yep. Don't know why that's happening, but it is. I know one of the pieces of coal was there at some point, because I've picked it up. Don't know about the other one. Maybe both of them were there at some point. So it's just the game's like, yeah, there's coal here. Oh wait, no, you picked that one up. And snaps its fingers and disappears it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on there. It is. And it's reproducible. But yeah, I got 3 pieces of coal, so I feel I have enough coal for emergencies if I have an emergency. So we're just going to dash straight through to the maintenance shed if the weather looks good as soon as we get out of the cave. We'll probably rest and recover there. Because we'll probably take fatigue, or use up a lot of fatigue doing that trip. I think that was that rock right there. I was thinking it was a piece of coal. Oh, interesting. I was thinking there's something to interact here. Yeah, maybe I've just got an invisible piece of coal there. Maybe I was just giving them the right sort of side eye to recognize the piece of coal there, but it isn't actually there. Yeah, I think we'll be a little bit tired by the time we get to the maintenance shed, but if the weather is good, we should just be able to take the dash straight across the muskeg, following the railroad tracks. A little bit light. Not really bringing any food with me. I know there's some food at the maintenance shed, so I won't necessarily be able to spend very much time working on working in the far territories before I run out of food, unless I find a way to make food on target. And there's a couple different ways to make food on target, which is probably what we'll go to do. It's a little windy, or at least it sounds a little windy. But this is apparently appropriate weather for traveling. I tend to consider appropriate weather okay visibility. Like, this is probably actually too much visibility. That's probably why I'm cold right now. I tend to find that when the visibility is high, you can expect it to be colder in-game on Interloper. But like, one echelon down is really good weather for traveling, often. On Interloper, don't assume you're ever going to really be warm. With this level of gear, apparently I am sometimes warm, but I just don't assume it. Don't make assumptions that I can get warm just by weather being nice. Because then you just stay hunkered in place too long, and that's how attrition gets you. Oh, that's a stick. Oh no, that's the place where sapling was, or could be. I'm looking for a sapling coming here, which is why I'm maybe not taking the straightest route, not flying as straight as the arrow. Ooh. Game has decided to bless me with birch. That's probably all we're going to find. Probably. But yeah, the trip across the muskeg should go pretty well. Doubly so now that I've regenerated all of the... Well, I haven't regenerated all of the coal. Probably because I'm going into the unknown, I'd probably appreciate being closer to 6, but 2 is enough. 3 is okay. It sounds windy. And probably if it's sounding windy with the level of warmth we're at right now, probably if it wasn't windy, we'd actually be warm. Yeah, as we end up in the wind shadow of the trees, we actually end up warm here. And we're not traveling in a way where we're going to be able to take advantage of much of the wind shelter, but interesting to know that is the case. And Lost and Found shouldn't have anything really interesting in it. We do have the heavy hammer, which we pulled out of the Lost and Found for. Technically, I think this is the heavy hammer I left at the foundry, the forge. Left at the forge here in Muskeg. So if I want to use the forge, I probably need to remember to bring that back to the forge. But that's fine. We're not in a rush to use that forge, and that's why it's still sitting there. I mean, at one point in the past, I went around dropping hammers at forges I use. I think the only forge we don't have a hammer... Well, obviously that one's not where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be at the forge, but... or at the, yeah, forge. The only one we don't have a hammer at that I would probably use is maybe the maintenance shed. Could drag one out there at some point. I think that's a wolf. Might be a deer. Not gonna take a detour to find out. Doubly so if I'm wrong. That would be bad. Don't need to have an encounter with a wolf right now. This is one place where if I wanted another food stockpile along the way, it might make sense to take a detour to do. Is there is a bear spawn in a cave right about over there. Bears, I tend to find they're a little bit... There is some risk if you're not careful and practice with hunting them, but they're a very big reward. So if you've got enough practice with hunting them, yeah, there's a risk-reward benefit going on there. But the more you practice, the less risk and the more reward. So you can see that bear over there. That would put like 20 kilograms of bear meat in the area. Not enough to necessarily adapt to a sedentary lifestyle, especially in the local fuel condition state. But definitely enough that you could have a nice food stockpile for zipping through between other locations. I suppose the main reason you wouldn't want to adapt to sedentary lifestyle is like 20 kilograms of bear meat's like 6 to 10 days. Maybe 20 if you're rationing it. And I think the respawn timer on a bear is like 20 days. So you're gonna be hungry between bears. And need something else besides just the bear. And I think it's just the one bear in this biome. Unlike Coastal where we've got 3, or Mystery Lake where we've got 2. So then you can bounce back and forth between the 2 of them, and okay, you really need all 3 in Coastal Highway, for example, to go full sedentary, but you could probably do it with three bears. And of course you need to mix in some vitamin C, and so you do fishing, and yeah. You could definitely be sedentary pretty easily in Coastal Highway. Or even Mystery Lake to some extent. It's a little bit harder in Mystery Lake because there isn't as convenient fuel. Well, this is going to be a nice trip across the Muskeg. High visibility, surprisingly warm enough, even with the high visibility, that we can see across the thing and be warm. So as long as we walk with a purpose, this should be a nice casual walk across the Muskeg. And of course, this is the value of getting good equipment in Interloper and keeping it well maintained. So right now we got fully repaired, or all our hide items are like 90% or better. I think maybe one of the bear coats might be 89% or something. I think the main clothing slot I have empty is I've got like one underwear slot empty. Wouldn't like to get that, but that's only half a degree. Unless we get lucky. I think I think the 1 degree one is a really rare spawn on Interloper. I think it does spawn, but it's very rare. And as a side effect, it doesn't. I don't think you can trade for it. If we get high enough level, I think we can trade for the 1/2 degree one, which might be how I end up getting my second pair at this rate. Okay, there's a wolf. I think we're far enough away, it won't notice us. I stay on this side of the railroad track. Again, it is apparently warm enough that we are, in fact, getting warmer as traveling. Though, barely. Is that a floating deer carcass? Or I'm not just seeing the contour of the land. No, I think it's on the land. The problem is it's on a white object, right? So white on white depth perception isn't necessarily the best. Yeah, it's not floating. Okay. From distance, it may look like it was. And I think it was here where I got turned around on the way back last time. Walked past here, did like a 180, went back the other way. Oh dear. That was a little more close to... little close for comfort there. On the damage take. It was fine in the long run, but it was a little annoying. Branch we ignore. Sticks we can harvest. Well, sticks we can just click to pick up. Branches we have to spend a little bit of time. And we got good weather, so I want to spend it traveling. I want to get to my place. Right now, I don't want to be spending it gathering fuel. So the last time we were out in the far territories, I think I got the key... Well, we did the Aurora step in the tail. The third tail. Well, first step of the Aurora. I don't know if we need an Aurora in the second one as well. We'll find out when we use the key. But they provided a key to a cabin. So we've actually got a cabin down in sort of lower wooded areas that we now have access to. So it may be interesting trying to generate a little bit of a food stockpile near that cabin. That'll be a good place to potentially warm up. Okay, Broken Railroad is apparently a little bit colder than Muskeg, because we just transitioned here and we went from being warm to being cold. Though I think we're only barely cold. Maybe if we get a little bit better wind state, we wouldn't even be that level of cold. I'm not sure if I actually finished cooking all the meat on the bear we killed in the Muskeg, or not the Muskeg, in the Broken Railroad area. We did kill a bear. That's actually what my food stockpile that I've been consuming every time I come through here is from. So it might be worth the effort to go check up on the food stockpile source and drag some more over. The weather continues being this good. We're low enough in fatigue and it's close enough tonight. I'm not going to take the dash out to the depot. As tempting as it is. So we should probably try to be productive here. And revisiting some food would not be the worst of choices for trying to be productive. And honestly, if the weather's good, we could probably just take some meat with us. It won't be quite as calorie dense as oats, so we'll have to see how heavy we are with the oats. Got some oats to take. Granted, it's the last of the oats that we've got out here. So that means we'll have to source some more oats for future tribes. Really going up and over the bit here. There we go. And this is one of the few places in the game where I don't know if it's really considered an exploit. It doesn't really break into game mechanics, but this is one of the places where I do billy goat up and over. I think it's really only meant to be one way. It's meant to go the other way, but you can do both ways, so I do both ways. This little segment here has been a place I have run into wolves before. Don't see any right now. Ooh, stick. It's warm enough that if the wind isn't too bad, we'll probably use the sticks to cook bear meat, if there's uncooked bear meat. And it'll probably be in the next recording, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can probably wait until tomorrow, and we'll see what the state of the bear meat is. We're coming. Well, I try to keep these 30 to 40 minutes. Mainly the way I do the recording is once I'm past 30 minutes, I look for a good place to put a save in, and then we end the part wherever that save is. So we're past 30 minutes. In fact, we're past 40, so I'm actually running the episode a little long. But we're going to put the save in when we step into the garage here. Which isn't going to be too far off. I'm going to sip a little bit of tea, and I think give a little bit of stretch to the legs, but then we're going to right back to recording if you're watching on Twitch. If you're watching YouTube, that will be, of course, the part breaks. The next part will be up tomorrow. But yeah, we'll be taking these sticks to go see if there is uncooked meat at the bear kill. And if there is, we'll go ahead and cook some more and then drag the cooked meat back to the garage. At least that's my plan, my tentative plan for the next part. I'm going to go ahead and eat the wolf meat here. Wolf meat's a little bit less calorie dense, so it's a lot worse for transport purposes. So I tend to prioritize eating it over other meats when I have it available to eat if it's cooked. I won't necessarily go out of my way to cook it if it's not presented. And of course, this is all assuming you've got cooking 5. If you don't have cooking 5, then bear meat and wolf meat can give you parasites, and you've got to be a lot more picky when you eat it. There's a wolf between where I am and where I want to go. A couple different ways I can go about doing this. One, which is the one I'm going to try right now, is can I start a fire? Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light a fire. I'm going to pull the torch out of the fire. And then that torch will protect me from the wolf on the approach to the maintenance shed. And it's always nice to have reignitions like that, using the sun to ignite your fire. With the fact that the trader can sell you matches now, it's a lot less important. Back when matches were really, really rare on Interloper, it was really good. Kill the wolf. That's why we wanted the torch. I could have probably been very stealthy ninja-like and tried to sneak past him, but, you know, sometimes the threatening loud approach works just as well. Okay, so there's the door. That's going to be effectively the part break. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a part up tomorrow. I'm going to try to record 4 more parts tonight, because we only recorded 3 in the last recording session. But the 5th part will sort of be up in the air, so I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. If you're watching on Twitch, feel free to hang around. I'll be right back after a short break. I'm going to just stretch the legs. So until the next part, wish you all the best of luck and good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.